Hi, and thank you for joining us. I'm Elizabeth Burden, an artist and your host for this edition of AZ Illustrated Arts. Tonight, we'll find out how dance, music, and acting come together in a new show about Nuevo Tango composer Astor Piazzolla. See artworks from Latin America that explore the changing representations of the feminine over the centuries. Meet two Tucson teenagers who are being recognized as among the nation's best young classical musicians. And see a sample of the artwork that makes up the Tucson Sculpture Festival. But first, we go to the Arizona Public Media newsroom.
The State Senate Education Committee passed a bill requiring schools to have injectable epinephrine available, more commonly known as EpiPens, though other brands are available. A doctor told committee members that epinephrine is safe to use on school-aged children who have severe allergic reactions. She likened having the pens available to having defibrillators, something you don't need every day, but when you need them right away. One state senator, however, expressed concerns that requiring EpiPens in schools will eventually require the medicine to be available in all classrooms and school buses. The committee passed the bill, which still has a number of steps before heading to the full Senate and House for final votes. A proposal to allow driver's licenses to be given to illegal immigrants allowed to stay in the country under the president's deferred deportation program is stalling in the state House. Members of the House committee listened to testimony today, but didn't vote on the bill because the committee chair wants to see if the president's deferred deportation program is upheld by the courts. State Representative Catherine Miranda is the sponsor of the bill.
There are over 300 students a year that are undocumented, and I see the potential that they have for this state of Arizona. I mean, these are students with 3.5, 4.0 grade point averages, and they definitely are an addition to our workforce.
Governor Jan Brewer says she does not want to give driver's licenses to the immigrants in question. Arizona is one of more than a dozen states to legalize marijuana for medicinal use, and now the state may be getting some federal help. Congressman Raul Grijalva and a dozen other members of Congress introduced a bill today that would keep the federal government from restricting the use of medical marijuana in a state so long as state law allows it. The proposal still has a number of hurdles to clear before it gets a final vote in Congress. And that's a look at tonight's headlines.
The adventurous life of composer Astor Piazzolla is the inspiration for a new production that combines live music, acting, and dance. Joining me today is actor Robert Beltran, one of the artists who will be bringing Piazzolla's story and music to life on stage. Robert may be a familiar face from his many roles in film and on television. This week, he's playing the role of Astor Piazzolla. Joining him is singer and guitarist Brian Chambouleyron, who is also a part of the production. Thank you both for joining us.
Pleasure.
Robert, my understanding is that this is the world premiere of this particular production, Passionately Piazzolla. Can you tell us a little bit about the production?
Well, I'm honored that it's a world premiere. I didn't know that, but that's good to know. Well, it's basically a celebration of Piazzolla's music, which has gotten to be more and more popular. Especially among classical artists, classical music artists, because his music sort of transcends the normal, the tango, the classic tango of prior to when Astor changed everything. So this is a celebration of his music. And we're combining the Tucson Ballet with musicians from the Symphony, Arizona Symphony or Tucson Symphony, and then Brian, who is from Argentina and an excellent musician. We are so happy to have him, so lucky and privileged to have an artist of his caliber. I'm reading from the text. I'm playing Astor and basically narrating his life from his childhood through his death.
So Brian, you've recorded many albums and appeared in many productions that celebrate tango. What distinguishes the work of Astor Piazzolla from other tango?
Oh, Astor Piazzolla, he was in a typical orchestra in Argentina a few years, but then he took his own way, a personal way, and he opened really the tango to other possibilities. Is very, very important, and he inspired a new generation. That's the importance, Piazzolla.
Now, Robert, in addition to your film and theater career, you also compose music. Is that correct?
Where did you hear that?
Oh, I read it somewhere, and I'm wondering how that helped you to prepare for this role.
Well, I'm a composer in embryonic stage. Okay, I'm self-taught, and I study Bach specifically, four-part chorus for chorus. And so when I learned that Piazzolla was a big Bach student, and it was a huge influence in his life, I immediately bonded with him. Because I have an experience of creating music and know how difficult it is, and the fact that Piazzolla studied the classical tradition, the classical discipline of writing. He studied in Paris with a lady named Nadia Boulanger, who's taught many great composers, including Aaron Copland and friends with Igor Stravinsky and Maurice Ravel. So I immediately had this bond with Piazzolla, if I could say that, and then watching him in interviews, very strong-willed. He went through a lot when he transformed the tango. The Argentinians didn't immediately take kindly to him, and but he stood up to them. And
what were the challenges and opportunities in this production in presenting that portrait of the father of Nuevo Tango? How are the various forms blended to tell the story?
Well, the most immediate thing is that the music of Astor Piazzolla was not meant for dancing.
No, really, it's not for dancing.
And
yes,
that's what he said. He said, I want to compose music that appeals first to the ear and not the feet.
But the ballet Tucson dance.
Yeah. But I think what they're finding out, this ballet company is finding out that it's very danceable, and I think especially suited to ballet music because or ballet dancers, because the density of the music, I think, requires a dancer with the a ballet dancer's discipline and skill, the technique required.
Yes, music. Piazzolla music is very rhythmical, and it has influence, Stravinsky influence. It's very strong, no? And dancers love Piazzolla.
Well, and we're going to get to hear a little bit of his music a little bit later in the show as well. I want to thank you both for joining us and let you all know that Passionately Piazzolla is a collaboration between Ballet Tucson, Chamber Music Plus, and the Tucson Guitar Society. Performances are happening February 15th through the 17th, just one of the events in the inaugural Desert Song Festival. We have more information online at azpm.org. Feminina, Images of the Feminine from Latin America, is an exhibition that is currently on view at the Tucson Museum of Art. It focuses on representations of the feminine, both sacred and profane. The work spans several centuries, from pre-Columbian through contemporary Latin American art, highlighting the artistic importance of women and showing how their representations have changed over time. In our next story, Tucson Museum of Art Chief Curator Julie Sasse gives us a tour of the Feminina exhibition, which features many pieces from the museum's permanent collection.
This is Feminina, Images of the Feminine in Latin American Art. This exhibition was organized by our past curator of Latin American art, Dr. Ann Seiferle Valencia, and it was a great idea. It was a wonderful way of bringing in many different eras of Latin American art together under one theme. What I like about it is there are oil paintings, there are ceramic figurines, lithographs, a wide range of media, and it covers a broad time span as well. One of the interesting ways that Seiferle Valencia organized the exhibition is looking at the different ways that women have been portrayed throughout the ages. So she starts with the pre-Columbian materials, and primarily those images were based on the idea of procreation, so fertility figures and images of women in that particular role, playing a very maternal-focused imagery. Then, with the Spanish conquest, there was the influence of Catholicism. And so the idea of the Virgin Mary became a very prominent figure that sort of replaced the fertility figure, and the image of the Madonna became more apparent, and the subtleties of the idea of woman representing that spiritual aspect. So those images changed then in the post-colonial works that you see. Different kind of focus altogether, different types of images by all means. And then in the 20th century, it starts to change again. Of course, as women are perceived in not only folk art, in working roles in the campesinos, women in still maternal or mother and child forms, but more in a humanistic way, more of a way that brings it closer to the average life. The idea of the mother and child figure, it relates back to the Madonna and child, but it becomes the everyday experience. And then when you get into more contemporary art in the 20th century, then the idea of the woman changes again. And as this is happening, of course, this is how it happens in real life with Chicana art. The idea of the woman is no longer a fertility figure or a Madonna and child, but she's a real woman. She's an empowered woman. So you're seeing things that reference back to those early nurturing roles, but then you're seeing another layer of self-empowerment. So you're seeing all these different aspects of how women have been portrayed, and then how they have changed, how the roles of women have changed. And it's all reflected through this idea of Latin American art. I think it's a fascinating look, and it's a very lively exhibition.
American and U.S. Airways announced plans to merge and create the world's largest airline if regulators and a bankruptcy judge approve. Good evening, I'm Jeffrey Brown.
And I'm Judy Woodruff. On the NewsHour tonight, we look at what the $11 billion deal means for the industry, for stockholders, and for travelers.
I'm a little worried that some of the flight routes are going to get canceled. They're going to change those up, and we may lose some options as consumers. But at the end of the day, airlines have to make money.
Then we turn to the troubled nomination of Chuck Hagel, President Obama's choice to be Secretary of Defense, as Republicans temporarily block a vote in the Senate.
We talked to 4 new members of the House of Representatives about the President's State of the Union address, the stalemate in Washington, and more.
Ray Suarez gets an update on the South African Olympic athlete known as Blade Runner, charged today with murdering his girlfriend.
And we close on this Valentine's Day with love letters from President Lyndon Johnson to bride-to-be Lady Bird.
Reading them, I thought, these are beautiful, these are wonderful. That's exactly the sort of thing that, I think we all would like to receive.
And that's all ahead on tonight's NewsHour.
Crowdfunding has been a very successful way to raise money for tech entrepreneurs, filmmakers, and now scientists.
I'm going to tell you about an exciting new project that we're working on, You Buy 'Em.
People say, what can I do with $5,000? I'm an ecologist. You can do a lot of things for $5,000.
I'm Linda Wertheimer, funding science through the internet on the next morning edition from NPR News.
NPR radio program From the Top celebrates the amazing performances and captivating stories of extraordinary young classical musicians. Broadcast nationwide, it is one of the most popular classical music programs on radio. The program will be taping in Tucson on Sunday, February 17th at the UA Centennial Hall, and a pair of Tucson teens who are making their mark in the world of classical music will be among the featured artists. Earlier, I spoke with them about their music and more. With me in the studio are Augustus Woodrow-Tomizuka and Cameron Williams, who will be performing with From the Top. Thank you both for joining us today.
Thank you.
Tell me a little bit about what you're going to perform for the show.
Well, I'm going to be performing the Grand Overture by Mauro Giuliani. It's an 18th century classical guitar piece.
And Cameron?
I'm doing a pretty crazy piece by Prokofiev. It's called Suggestion diabolique because he wrote it when he was living in Paris, and it's about the workings of the devil, basically. And it's also him sort of breaking away from the classical structure that he didn't want to be bound in anymore.
Why did you select those particular pieces?
Well, for me, the classical guitar repertoire is really great, but the instrument as itself is kind of known not for being the loudest, kind of most maybe dynamic instrument. But the piece I selected is really operatic in nature, and I grew up with a lot of opera music and orchestral music, and Giuliani wrote in a very Italian operatic style, and I love that. I love just going full out. It's really flashy, and it's super technical and fun to play. So.
And Cameron?
Similarly, my piece is really, really wild, really technical. I like it because it sort of represents a shift, if an early shift, in Prokofiev's music. And Prokofiev's one of the composers I really like. But I really like his later music and the sort of fusion of what had been going on earlier and what he was going to write later and what eventually would come late in history as modern music. So Prokofiev at this stage in his life was sort of a fusion of those types of music, and not only a fusion, but him rebelling against what he was being forced, what he had been taught to compose like. And so it was him becoming Prokofiev. So it's a very interesting piece in that sense.
Gus, I know that you had mentioned that you are also a composer. Are there other composers from which you draw inspiration?
Well, I think it's very interesting to see how, I as a composer have changed. And so I look a lot at the music from the transitory period from Romantic to modern when I seek inspiration for my music, because that period is sort of the time when music was most radically changing. And it's interesting to see how that music mixes, and it's interesting to sort of try to replicate both in music and try to create a fusion of the two.
Speaking a little bit about outside interests, I know that, Gus, you are a scientist as well.
Yes.
Can you tell me a little bit about how your music and science relate? Do the interests feed off one another, or are they completely separate in your mind?
No, that's interesting. I would say that they're related in some ways, and also in other ways they're completely unrelated, and I like both aspects. But I'd say, I approach them differently, but some of the general mindsets that I've used to make accomplishments in both, which is just basically work ethic and sort of my overall set of values, I've been able to apply to both. And so with my conservation work, obviously that requires a lot of dedication because you're going out to people and really doing a lot of outreach and education. And it's time-consuming, but really rewarding. And I think likewise, music, also obviously the amount of practice involved is pretty substantial.
How much do you practice?
It varies depending on school schedules and stuff. I try to get 4 to 6 hours in a day minimum, but it depends, sometimes more, sometimes less.
And Cameron, how much do you practice?
I don't practice that much. I have a lot of different stuff I do, but I always practice at least 3 hours a day. And I try in those 3 hours to be really, really trying to accomplish something every minute. But aside from piano, I have a lot of other things that occupy my time, because I go to a really intense school. I go to Basis, which is great because they have a lot of their academic rigor allows me to learn quicker, and it's the material I'm learning is really interesting, and I love it.
So what are some of your other interests besides music?
Besides music, I mean, of course, there's that academic aspect, which I do a lot, and I learn languages. So far I've learned German and Russian and Chinese, and of course I speak English. Right. So,
and is the process of learning languages similar or different to you from learning music?
It's very similar.
How so?
It's similar because there's the process of assimilating the material and then actually understanding the material and being able to present it to other people. So because music and language are both forms of communicating. So it's interesting actually to draw that connection. But also what's very different is that language is a really macroscopic thing. Whereas when you're learning music, you know, it's one piece. And while that one piece may be part of a huge canon of music, it's still just one piece. Whereas language can be compared to the whole canon of music from that time period. So there's contrast there in size.
Well, I want to thank you both for taking the time to join us in the studio today, and wish you good luck in your performances and From the Top.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The 4th annual Tucson Sculpture Festival is currently taking place at 2 venues in downtown Tucson, the Sculpture Resource Center and the newly opened Whistle Stop Depot in the Dunbar Spring neighborhood. Started by members of the Sculpture Resource Center, the event highlights the diverse range of art created by this local art collective. Next, producer Luis Carrion visits the Tucson Sculpture Resource Center and introduces us to some of the artists that are part of the festival exhibition.
Many people are familiar with the iconic sculptures that have been produced throughout history. These three-dimensional works of art have survived throughout the generations and provide us with reference points of our cultural evolution as humans. These classical examples have paved the way to modern techniques that offer artists limitless possibilities in the creation of art.
My name is Moises Orozco. I'm a metal fabricator, sculptor, artist, illustrator, whatever. I'm at the Sculpture Resource Center.
Moises Orozco is a member of the Sculptural Resource Center. He says this art collective allows him to rent space in a collaborative environment where he benefits from the creative vision of other members.
Hey, Abby.
A piece I'm working on right now is a sculpture that I'm putting together out of scrap metal that I was inspired to do from an illustration that I had done from our figure drawing, because we have figure drawing here Wednesday nights. We open it to the public, we invite people to come by, and we have friends and ourselves, we pose for each other, and we do 3-hour drawing sessions. So this sculpture I'm making right now is out of our scrap pile, pieces of metal that I find, and I just let the piece make itself with the idea of the illustration that I'm working on.
From illustration to models to painting, and everything in between, the Sculptural Resource Center serves as a meeting place where artists can collaborate and feed off of each other's creative energy.
This place has good energy because it seems like everybody here who works at the same time, like whenever we work around each other, we never seem to bump heads. Everybody's working on their projects, and I'm not always in this space. There's times when I'm working out here. There's times when I'll move. My welding cart is on wheels, so I actually have set myself out here. I'll be down there, sometimes in the studio, depending on the project I'm making. And there's something about this place where we are always helping each other out, working with each other. It is like us, you know, we all seem to have that. You know, we just have a project, we'll see junk, people come and bring metal, and we're like, oh wow, I'm gonna make something out of that.
Work at the Sculptural Resource Center is never static and evolves continuously.
Hey, my name's Andy Thurlow. I'm a musician, sculptor, welder, and I originally come from the East Coast, and I love being here in Tucson.
Andy Thurlow is another artist associated with the Sculptural Resource Center. His work has merged his professional training as a musician with his skills as a machinist and sculptor.
Yeah, I've played since before I can almost remember. I come from a musical family, and so I grew up with a piano, and my dad knew a lot about music, so he was always telling us stuff when we were kids. played the guitar in like middle school and high school, and switched to saxophone and played jazz for a number of years, and switched back to the guitar and played like punk rock for a number of years. And then I started doing this, which is building instruments. For me, it was interesting because it goes directly to the sound, and purchase instruments all do the same thing in the same framework. And so getting older and like that, I wanted something else, so that I started making them instead.
Thurlow's instruments are meant to be played with little or no musical training, and he says the instruments and the collaborative energy of the artists is what guides the intuitive direction of the music. Tanya Rich, another member of the collective, says this sound represents an acoustic creation that is typical of the collaborative energy that is present at the Sculptural Resource Center.
Yeah, I think that's what makes this place, is that feeding off of each other and working together. You just see it all around you when you look around at the sculptures that are going on and the folks that are working together.
You can find out more about the Sculptural Resource Center and the music of Andy Thurlow by logging on to our website at azpm.org.
Guitarist Brian Chambouleyron is an expert on the music of Argentina and another of the artists bringing the work of Astor Piazzolla and the unique qualities of Nuevo Tango to the stage in Passionately Piazzolla.
Yo adivino el parpadeo de las luces que a lo lejos van marcando mi retorno. Son las mismas que alumbraron con sus pálidos reflejos hondas horas de dolor. Y aunque no quise el regreso, siempre se vuelve al primer amor. La vieja calle donde le codijo, tuya es su vida, tuyo es su querer. Bajo el burlón mirar de las estrellas que con indiferencia hoy me ven volver. Volver con la frente marchita, las nieves del tiempo platearon mi cielo. Sentir que es un soplo la vida, que 20 años no es nada, que febril la mirada, errante en la sombra, te busca y te nombra. Vivir con el alma aferrada a un dulce recuerdo que hoy lloro otra vez.